All right. I'm sitting here today, Mr. Beasley, overlooking out of his window, Peachtree Street, downtown Atlanta. International Joe. That's a new name. International Mr. Joe Beasley.
I don't know about that. I remember I'm a plantation hand from right down in Fayette County. I remember where I came from.
I just looked at an article that you had sent me about Mutombo. I thought they just did Wilkins with the statue. Was it Wilkins they did with the statue? Now Mutombo.
Well, it really is our time. For so long we were locked out of professional sports, going all the way back to all of the professional sports because we didn't have the gray matter to actually manipulate, because playing these sports is really applied mathematics. And black people are kind of afraid of math, but when they get on a sports arena, to get a shot for a basketball or to catch a football, all that is applied mathematics. And so not only as we have been given opportunities, Reverend Jackson talked so much about, that we've excelled. And so that Mr. Wilkins would be, statue of him would go out in the front of Phillips Arena, I think is very, it should be. And of course, it was unfortunate it had to be made to be put there because of the discrimination against the African fans that were saying that, that white people were afraid to come to Phillips Arena because of too many black people, and black people really didn't have enough buying power to, make it. So there was that move by the leadership of the Hawks to talk down their black fans. And really what the problem was, as you know, Clyde, was the fact we didn't have a basketball team was worth going to watch. But just in the midst of all of this dismissal of the black fans, they started to win. And when they started to win, the Phillips Arena was full every night. So it had nothing to do with some of the things they were talking about. But again, I just think it's time that this kind of recognition would come forward. And now that Mr. Mutombo from the Congo, a number of them were retired, and I just left the Congo. This time last month I was in the Congo.
Tell me about it, for those who don't know. How is life in the Congo?
Well, life in the Congo, quite frankly, is not what it could be and need to be. Because when you get to Kinshasa, which is the capital city, it's dirty, big and dirty. But the Congo is the richest spot on the planet Earth. There's more wealth in the Congo than in all of Europe and the United States combined. But because of this neocolonialism that still exists, that we allow the Europeans and the Americans to come in and steal all the wealth out of the Congo.
You talk about Congo, coltan. That's that mineral that they use for all these computers, smartphones. That's where it comes from.
Oh, absolutely. And everything that's needed to fuel the I guess the technology age from 21st century beyond, all of it's in the Congo. It's right there in the Congo. To fly the jet planes, all of that is coming out of the Congo.
You had once talked about, and I'm gonna jump around a little bit. You had once talked about these football players playing college ball, basketball players need to get paid.
Well, there's no question about it, and I think what we saw recently, I guess it was in Missouri, where this the president of the school had not responded to the demands of the black students.
Right.
And the real power base on any college campus throughout this country right now, the major top 10 schools, the athletes are African descendants. And so what happened in Missouri, they just flexed their muscle. And when they flexed their muscle by saying, we're not going to play. We're not going to play until the president resigns. And of course he, for a couple of days said he was not going to resign, but when it come down to money, because
dollars and cents,
they were going to lose $1 million a game. And so these are college football players. And many of them, as you know, they just play the college days, but they never get into the big league. But these top 10 schools, like Ohio State, and you can just go down the list, Missouri, Pennsylvania, Penn State, Ohio, look at Georgia State, Georgia Tech. On each of these campuses, what happened in Missouri could happen in any campus. And of course, there's a big move to downplay that.
You don't even see it in the news.
Well, they because that's real power, and they want to win athletics, and they need the black players in order to be victorious. So I just think it's as natural, and Justice Jackson started saying this years ago, is that we need to remunerate. These players need to get paid, because many of them will never make the pros, but they could become millionaires while they're in high school.
College.
So I just think that it's time for a lot of things across the world to begin to shift. And I know you got a lot on your mind about some of the things that's going on in Libya and some of the things that's going on in Syria. But all of this really, all of this craziness started, Bradley, about 5 centuries ago, when the white man thought that somehow that God had designated him to rule the world, and when he decided he'd go into Africa and take out the young, strong black Africans, and for all of these years, almost 350 years, they told a lie that the black man was not a human being, and they really backed it up with right out of the Vatican. And the Pope,
Catholic Church.
Well, we have a good man, I think, in the Vatican now.
He's over in Africa right now, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I think he's leaving today, Pope Francis. He's been telling the truth as he's traveled around the world, but he really got to deal with his predecessors, because the Catholic Church was right in the middle of the transatlantic slave trade. As a matter of fact, as they were brought onto the coast of Cape Coast and places like that, they were actually categorized in the church. And the Pope had said that the African didn't have souls. So if you didn't have a soul, then you could be a slave. So the Pope Francis has got a lot of cleaning up to do, and I think he's doing a good job, but we're going to have to challenge him to do more.
Now I look at overseas, over in Africa, over in Pakistan. You have all this fight. You have people going from one place trying to get over to Europe, and they're being stopped, being held prisoners, being in work camps. We're not talking about it in the media, but it's happening, and it's like saying, what is really going on? What kind of change can we do?
Well, you see, the European that have dominated for the last century have still got this notion that somehow he's special in the world, and our books, good book, remind us that the earth belongs to the Lord and the fullness thereof, and so this notion that you're an alien in God's world is very a strange idea. And I think that we're moving more and more into a time in which the people that's controlled our world for the last 5 centuries is losing their grip, and they don't know what to do. So we see the governor, like the governor of Georgia, saying we don't want the Syrians coming here. Now, how idiotic that is. I think at the same time he made the declaration, some Syrian was already being processed here.
Not only that, you had people up in the House of Representatives and the Senate they're saying they don't want people from Syria to come in the United States.
Well, you know, as we look back at great empires that's gone in the past, like the Roman Empire, you know, the case starts from within. And, you know, so they were so much worried about the outsiders, but what is happening, the whole fabric of this society that's been so exclusive in locking people out, it's crumbling from within. And we can look out our window here and we can see throwaway people that this is south of Peachtree, and when you get past, you know, the 5 Points area, you're coming south. That's been an area that's been pretty much controlled by black people, and so we have all these throwaway kids that you know, that fully understand that this society don't appreciate them, and if you doubt my word, just go right down the street here. There's the city jail is right down the street. And if we go to the Fulton County Jail, which is right across town, or if you go to the DeKalb County Jail, or if you go to the Clayton County Jail, or the Gwinnett County Jail, these places are filled up with young black men. And so what one should say, you know, somebody needs to call a meeting. Something is wrong, something is broken. If 98% of the Fulton County Jail is comprised of black men, that's a problem, and the problem is not the black people.
I sit down